New products, proposal, development, and launch. Concept development, testing, and evaluation. The third step of the process is concept development, testing, and evaluation. It is an extension of screening whereby good ideas are refined and elaborated to assess their financial, marketing, and technological feasibility. The process is progressive, starting out with secondary data and in-depth interviews with a small group of customers and then building to larger samples for more reliable estimates of market acceptance. Here, the product manager is heavily involved in determining the appropriate features and attributes to maximize customer satisfaction, and in estimating sales potential and profitability. Concept development involves fleshing out the rough idea into a detailed product concept and expanding on the market size and attractiveness as presented in the initial proposal. Start with secondary data. Conduct online searches to get more information on market characteristics, trends, and competition. Look for any purchasable marketing research studies that have been conducted on the market. Talk with industry experts and potential customers to assess attitudes toward the product idea. Next, solicit input from key customers who are knowledgeable and cooperative. These customers don't have to be representative, but they do have to be willing to suggest improvements and modifications to the initial concept. Probe for specific modifications that could affect the sales potential of the product. What if certain features were enlarged or minimized? What if the product was harder or softer? What if the dimensions were more standardized, more customized? Is color important? How about location? Get as much input from these key informants as possible. In some cases, this type of qualitative research with a small sample is sufficient to develop the concept. In other cases, a larger sample is required to fully understand needs. When the Oldsmobile Aurora was being developed, the project team used focus groups extensively even before the first design were drawn. In fact, more than 4,200 consumers were interviewed nationwide, the largest such sampling in GM's history. Once the concept is more fully developed, it is important to test it among a large group of customers. This group will be more representative of the target market. There is no one-biased approach to concept testing, but most are variations of qualitative research and focus group discussions. Generally, several versions of a concept or several different products concepts that address the same need are explored in one concept test. This is because people usually provide better information when comparing alternatives, and the resulting information is more reliable than absolute evaluation. Product descriptions on cards, drawing of the concept, and rough prototypes can all be used as part of the research. In some cases, the product's technical documentation and owner's manual is part of this analysis. One approach is to ask customers to supply a price range. What is the highest price you'd pay? Above which you'd feel you were being gouged. What is the lowest price you'd pay? Below which you'd question the quality of the product. Another approach is to split the concept test groups into experimental and control groups. Given each group a different price for the same described concept and determine whether there are differences in the willingness to buy at the stated prices. A third strategy is to ask customers what value the new product would have over what they are currently using. A final approach is to ask customers what they would be willing to pay for the product and what features they would be willing to give up to attain that price. In each case, an intent to buy question should be included. At this point, the product team should attempt to establish a target price. The target price is necessary to estimate target cost for the developmental process. Design by price is an approach used by several companies in industries with rapidly changing technologies, short life cycles, and pressure on pricing. The target price depends on the value perceived by the market. Determining value will be different for low unit value, frequently purchased items, than for high price, infrequently purchased goods. The purchase of consumer packaged goods has an element of habit and inertia in the decision process. Higher priced products may have groups or committees involved in the process. The differences in decision making as well as the different decision makers need to be included in the analysis. By this time, the team should be able to list and display all the potential product features in a concept development table similar to figure 10.4. The figure shows an example of a bicycle frame. The first column lists the needs as identified through customers and lead user research. Note that the needs are what the customer wants to get out of the using the product, rather than how it is to be developed. The second column contains the ranking or rating of importance of the identified needs. The third column converts the benefits into target or goals for the designers to use in developing the frame. For example, the desired mass in kilograms provide directions without specifying materials or production techniques. Also, the target cost range is determined by starting with the target prices and deducting an acceptable margin. Column 4 and 5 list the metrics for the major competitive products. By comparing the initial and competitive metrics with the importance rating supplied by the market, adjustments may need to be made in column 6. The final revised metrics are the output of the concept development and testing phase. Since this point represents a milestone in the new product development process, there should be a sign-off of the initial review committee to indicate their acceptance of the metrics, in effect freezing the benefit set. Although actual product specifications won't be frozen until after prototype development. It can be difficult completing the concept development table for breakthrough products. Customers do not have competitive products to use as their benchmark price. Therefore, the analysis has to start with the function being provided by the product. How is that function being done now without the benefit of the new product or service? What benefits and costs are related to changing the way it is done now? Then, both the rational and emotional motives for switching to the new product have to be considered and valued. To estimate a target price, several things need to be considered, specifically the possibility of competitive attack, the price sensitivity of the market, and the degree of competitive differentiations. Figure 10.5 shows a tree diagram with the considerations in new product pricing. For example, if the target customers are not price sensitive, the product is highly differentiated, and competitive response is not expected. It is conceivable to charge a relatively high price. On the other hand, if the price sensitivity is high, product differentiation low, and competition heavy, a low price will be necessary. Before progressing to prototype development, it is important to revisit the questions that were used to evaluate the initial project and verify that it is still an attractive endeavor. If the new information gathered results in the project no longer passing the initial screening questions, the new product may need to be modified or cancelled. This can be a critical milestone when another go or no-go decision must be made. Prototype development. If the proposed product passes the concept test and evaluation, it moves into R&D and or engineering to be developed into a physical product. Up until now, it existed only as a verbal description or a rough mock-up. Now it must be translated into a technologically feasible product. This does not mean the marketing is no longer involved. Rather, the product manager's job is to ensure that the core benefits that were the essence of the product concept are not lost during the development process, and the progress is being made on the marketing plan, trade name search, and other factors critical to new product success. That is why a project team approach is so crucial. After the prototypes have been developed, they should be put to rigorous functional and customer testing. The functional tests are conducted under both laboratory and field conditions to be sure the products are safe and reliable. Customers tests are conducted to be sure that the design is appropriate. Market testing, in-home testing, and beta testing are all variations of the type of test to be performed at this stage. Some questions to be answered during this stage are as follows. Does the prototype work as intended? Does it meet specs? Does it satisfy customer needs? Are there any anticipated production problems? Can they be overcome within a reasonable time and cost? Has production scheduling been finalized? It is on schedule. Have costs been confirmed? Have raw materials been ordered? Is marketing ready for launch? Are there minor modifications that can improve the product or its value without adversely impacting the project? Is there a need for a significant change that will necessitate a delay in the project? If all these questions can be answered positively, the product specification should be frozen and the screening committee should sign up to indicate their acceptance of the specifications. Then the project is ready to move to the next stage, the pre-launch. Pre-launch. The pre-launch is the period prior to commercialization when the product manager verifies that all preparations have been made for the actual product introduction. During this stage, the product manager must identify all stakeholders and determine their information requirements. Customer service needs to be prepared to handle inquiries and fulfill orders. Technical support personnel may require specialized training. The distribution channel may require advance warning of any unique requirements of the product or service. Also, at this time, there may be a need to consider a market test or simulated market test to determine whether the strategy is ready for introduction. Various use tests already should have determined the viability of the product, but the test might not have addressed the best way to go to market. Test marketing helps assess whether the right price is being charged, whether the appropriate message is being communicated through advertising, and whether the proper distribution strategy is being employed. Of course, test marketing is expensive in terms of both money and time. Therefore, it should be undertaken only when the risk of not doing it is great. For a typical test market, the product manager selects a geographic area that is a representative of the product's target market as possible and markets the product on a limited basis in the region. The key decisions to be made include how many test markets, which ones, and how long the test should run. Most companies select 2 or 3 test markets that provide good representation of their target customers. Good representation refers to assuring the critical demographic variables are dispersed in the target area in about the same proportion as exists in the total market area. The length of the test market will vary depending on the type of product. Some will require 6 to 9 months and others will need 2 years. The factor to consider is the length of the buying cycle, with the test market being at least as long as 2 buying cycles. Based on this information, a launch plan can be developed. The launch documentation should contain 3 specific components. 1. A milestone activities chart. 2. The marketing strategy to support the launch. And 3. An early indicator chart. All of these guide the launch and early commercialization. The milestone activities chart lists the desired dates of completion for significant activities such as purchasing equipment for the launch, finalizing package design, obtaining legal clearance, subcontracting specialized labor, and preparing the owner's manual. Each of these may require several steps and may vary in importance depending on the project. Their potential impact on product success must be considered in assessing priority. For example, electronic or high-tech consumer products require clarity in technical documentation to be successful. Customers are increasingly seeking simplicity in a complicated world. However, as a recent Businessweek article stated, plain English is a language unknown in most of the manuals that are supposed to help us use electronic products. The format of the milestone activities charts can vary from a simple list of activities and dates to more formal project schedule and control techniques like Gantt and PERT charts. The marketing strategy component of the launch materials details the tactical components of the launch: branding, packaging, pricing, advertising, and all aspects of marketing are studied. As with the annual product plan, the new product marketing plan should start with an objective such as convert 25% of current customers to the product upgrade and obtain trial by an additional 25%. The marketing tactics will then be put into place to accomplish this objective. A sample outline for this new product marketing strategy is shown as figure 10.8. Some companies include all or most of the listed components. Others will need to be more selective. Line extensions might require only an abbreviated outline, whereas breakthrough products will need extensive marketing strategy plans. The final component of the launch documentation is a calendar of early indicators of potential launch success. Early indicators refer to outcomes such as the number of inquiries that can help predict or provide early indicators of the level of launch success. For example, histories might indicate that 30 inquiries typically convert to one sale. In that case, tracking the number of inquiries could provide an early indicator of future sales. Other early indicators might include the number of sales calls made on the new product, the percentage of distributors willing to carry it, the awareness level of the market, the number of facings retailers give to the product, and so on. After identifying the early indicators, the next step is to set time-based goal to achieve for each. The early indicator chart then lists the outcomes expected by the end of designated time periods, enabling the product manager to compare actual against expected performance without waiting for final sales data. With launch documentation prepared, the product is ready to move to the launch phase. It's worth noting that sales training may sometimes be required during the pre-launch phase. The information on sales training is presented in the next section covering the launch stage. Launch. The next step of the new product development process. Launch results in the introduction of the product into the market. Decisions need to be made about timing, geographic strategy, target market prospects, sales and customer service support, and final marketing strategy. Timing can be a critical component of the new product success. If competitors might be entering the market, the product manager must decide whether to get there first, concurrently, or after the competition. First entry usually provides an advantage, but if rushing results in a flow product, the result can be more damaging than good. Timing an entry with competition can neutralize the competitor's potential first mover advantage as well as possibly increase the potential market faster. Delaying an entry until after competition is in the market might make it possible to capitalize on competitive loss as well as benefit from any competitive advertising that educates the market. Timing is also important if there are a seasonal or cyclical aspects to a product, or if the introduction impacts the sale of existing products. It is also necessary to make decisions on a geographic strategy. On some occasions, a national launch is appropriate, but most new products start with a rollout strategy. Although the rollout might appear similar to test marketing, it differs in a couple of important ways. First, in a test market, the product manager targets regions that are representative of the final launch. This is not the case with a rollout. The markets are selected based on their ability to provide an early cash flow or to gain commitment from an influential market needed for the continued rollout. Second, the test market is a final test before the commercialization decision is made. The rollout is the first step in commercialization after the decision is made. The last part is fine-tuning of the introductory marketing strategy. This action plan details introductory pricing, base price and option pricing, press release and product announcements, direct mail to select customer shipping policies and procedures, channel and end-user communications, and training for the sales force and customers. The sales training in particular should help salespeople sell the product rather than simply pitch the product. The sales training that is part of the product launch should educate and motivate the salespeople to sell your product. In other words, why should the salespeople believe the product will perform as claimed? What motivation is there for them to sell it? For an existing product, the best proof as past sales success. For new products, a bit more persuasion is necessary. Results from test marketing or beta testing, statements from sales managers or other salespeople indicating their success in rollout region. Sales that you have personally made or trade shows and lead generation programs in place can convince salespeople that the product is worth their time and effort to pursue. In addition, financial and non-financial motivators should be considered. Higher commissions, better bonuses, and desirable contests can work under the right circumstances. Non-financial motivators could include customer input suggesting that less sales effort is necessary to be successful, the ability to sell the product along with another product with a minimal increase in selling time, or unquestionable proof of competitive superiority. Project evaluation. After or during the launch stage, some type of project appraisal should be completed. The main objectives of this stage are to improve future product development efforts and to move the product from a new product status to being an ongoing product requiring long-term maintenance. There may also be a need on occasion to relaunch a product that is not meeting expectations. The relaunch should be considered as early as possible, and hopefully will have been uncovered by the early indicators as discussed in the pre-launch section of this chapter. If the product is still an acceptable product, changes to the marketing strategy may need to be made to make it a success.